So in this video, we're going to show you some hydraulic brake bleeding techniques on two of our popular models, the EVOLV Pro R and the INOKIM OXO.
The tools required at this point, we need a couple syringes with the appropriate adapters. We need a pad spacer, a couple of Allen keys, a Torx wrench, different sizes, and some fluid, and then we'll get started. First thing to do, we're going to do it on the Pro R. First thing to do would be to get the lever in a level position. We'll get the throttle out of the way, and at this point, this is the bleed port right here. This needs to be close to the highest point. The whole point of this is to get air out of the system, and if the bleed point is lower, the air is not going to want to get to it. So we'll loosen it up, make it as level, as high as we can. Tighten it up just a bit. It's not going to move around on us. And we'll take our syringe with some fluid in it. We're going to go down to the caliper. And this one requires a little more work than the OXO. You can see on this side there is no access to the bleed valve. It's in behind. So first we have to take this caliper off. If we look on the OXO, the bleed port's right here. So it's not necessary to take the whole caliper off. We're going to do that on the Pro R. Once we take it off, we can flip it over, and we'll see right here is our bleed valve. So that is what we're going to open up. This one, it's also good to have a rag or a paper towel handy to clean up any spills and catch any drips. You really don't want mineral fluid on your brake pads because that will reduce your braking capacity. So, loosen this off. You want to make sure you keep track of this because there's a little gasket on it. These screws are very difficult to replace. So once that's off, there will be fluid if you mess around with it too much. You're going to take a threaded insert and thread it in there. This one is plastic, so you don't want to be too aggressive with it. Just get it finger tight. Now at this point you want to make sure that you don't twist the whole thing so that this would come undone. Be careful of that. And we're going to reach over here and take our pad spacer, and this just keeps a certain amount of space between the pads when you're making all of your adjustments. So we're going to whip that in there. So this one's attached, we can go up top and attach the other one. So we're going to loosen this port up here. This one has a rubber washer as well as a little metal gasket washer in there. Make sure those don't get lost. So this is the one inside of here. Very tiny, very difficult to find if it goes rolling somewhere. Okay, So we've got our spare paper towel just in case of leaks. And we're going to line this one up and put it in, spread it in. And a little bit more than finger tight. And clean off any of the leaked fluid. Now we'll just let us see if anything's leaking during the process. If anything new starts forming around here, we'll notice if there's a leak. So this is attached up top. That's done. Make sure things are loose. We've got a little bit of air coming out, and that's what we're going to get rid of. So the plan is to push the air through the system all the way up and out this one because air will rise through fluids. Moving down to the bottom, you can see there's a bubble right here, and that is going to be pushed through the system. I have a bubble in my syringe as well, so I'm just going to tip it so the bubble will be the last thing to get there. And we're just going to slowly push. You can see the bubbles moving through the system. And if we go up top, you can look and see the bubbles moving along the line as well. So it looks like there's a little bit of a leak. Gotta clean that up. We tighten this up. There we go. To the bottom. At this point, it's really good to shake the lines. Tiny bubbles will get stuck along the track all the way up. They'll get stuck in areas where they're connectors, they'll get stuck in here. So we want to tap everything. Help those bubbles loosen up and then work their way up. See, there's only a couple more bubbles coming through. Just about out of fluid at the bottom. And now, we're going to come down to the bottom and we're going to cap it off. So we're going to take this off and have your little screw and washer ready. Keep it upright. Fluid that wants to come out. So we're going to have a rag ready. Just wrapped around there to catch the drips. Because again, we don't want these going in the brake pads, because that'll be very bad for your braking. Up. You don't want to over tighten because these are tiny threads and get stripped easily. And we're going to wipe off that fluid. It's a good idea to check anywhere along the backside for any leaks or drips. It looks like I've got everything, so that's good. Wipe that off. And we'll set that down here. We're going to remove the block. Reinstall. That brake block also keeps the pads evenly spaced because there's a piston on either side, which is what gets both pads to move at the same time when you squeeze the brake levers. lined up. Still got our screw. We'll keep that in the deck somewhere visible. Going up to the top. Clean up any fluid. And now, what we're going to do is pump the brakes. Get any fluid or air that might be trapped in the hose. Just get those final bits out. It's good to just pull the trigger and then release it. That will create a backflow, a rapid backflow of liquid. That should help release some of those bubbles if there are any trapped. Looks like everything's good. Give it squeezes, make sure it feels tight, make sure it's responsive. You don't want it feeling squishy. At this point, I like to take a rag and wrap it around from both sides. And loosen it up and twist it off. Screw is back in there with the rubber washer. We've got a little bit of fluid escaping at the end, which is perfectly normal. That's what the rag is there for. Okay. And that's a brake bleed. Got all the air out. Loosen things up. You can check your brakes. Make sure that they feel responsive. A couple squeezes. And then we did loosen things up. So we moved the brake lever to a more comfortable position. You want to put that back. And we can put our throttle back in place as well. And connect the wires. And then tighten that. So here we have the OXO, or the OXO from INOKIM. It's another one we carry, which has very similar setup. So we've got the reservoir up top, you've got the brake levers, your bleed port is right here, just like the other one. So if we're going to be starting to do this one, we want to level the brake lever, so this port is at the highest point, so the air has a better chance of escaping. When you're bleeding it, tapping the lines, there's a bit of a arch here. Air can get stuck here. So you want to bring it down, tap it, tap the lines. You can use an Allen key, anything light, your hands, to tap it while you're feeding the fluid through. Look down here at the back. This is your bleed port right here. So that's where you're going to be connecting your syringe to. You don't necessarily need to remove this whole caliper because the disc will be providing the space, just like the spacer, the pad spacer did when we removed the other one. So remove the bleed port, connect the syringe, go up top, release the port, connect the syringe, and then feed the fluid through from the bottom to the top, pushing the air up. Connect this one, disconnect this one first, close it up, move up top, squeeze your levers, make sure that you're getting the right amount of travel. It feels sturdy, not spongy. Pull it, let it go a couple times. Tap the lines. Make sure you have paper towel or a rag handy. Tighten this up, close it up, and you should be good.